My sister Delaney rose mid-meal with her wine glass lifted, like she was hosting her own talk show. She smiled at the table. 16 people. Family. A few neighbors Mom had invited last minute. "I'm the pride of this family," she announced. Easy, confident, like it was simply a fact everyone had already agreed on. People smiled, laughed softly, used to her performances. Then Delaney pointed her glass directly at me. "And she's the problem." More laughter. The nervous kind. The kind that fills space because nobody knows what else to do. My stomach dropped so fast I felt dizzy. The words landed like a label pressed directly onto my forehead. Permanent. Public. Mom's eyes found mine immediately. Warning me. Pleading with me. Delaney's smirk said she was waiting, hoping for a reaction she could use. I swallowed hard, kept my face completely still, even as my hands started shaking under the tablecloth where nobody could see. Delaney sat back down, satisfied, shoulders relaxed. She thought she'd won. She had no idea I'd just made a decision. If she wanted a story, she was about to get one. Just not the version she controlled. "My name is Sable Hart. My family has been calling me difficult since I was old enough to disagree with them politely." In the bathroom, after Delaney's little toast, I gripped the sink and breathed slowly. Forced the sting back behind my eyes. I didn't cry. I refused to, because crying became evidence for Delaney. Something she'd use later to prove her point. When I walked back into the dining room, Delaney was already retelling it. "You know how Sable is," she was saying, smiling, like I was a recurring punchline she'd grown fond of. My dad stared at his plate. Mom touched my arm the moment I sat down. Whispered, "Please don't start anything. Start anything." Like I had started the humiliation by simply existing at the table. I nodded. Didn't argue. Delaney's shoulders visibly relaxed when I sat down quietly. She thought I'd folded. She thought the toast had done what it always did, reminded everyone of the hierarchy, put me back in my place. She had no idea I'd just stopped shielding her. For the first time, and that everything she'd been hiding was about to need a lot more than my silence to stay buried. Outside by my car after dinner, my cousin Mira found me. She looked around quickly, making sure we were alone, then walked over fast. "That was seriously messed up," she said quietly. I tried to laugh it off. The sound came out wrong, hollow. Mira moved closer. "She's been telling people you're unstable again." Again. My throat tightened, because that was Delaney's signature move. Take the hardest year of my life and turn it into my permanent personality. Like I hadn't fought my way through it, like surviving meant I was permanently broken. Mira squeezed my hand. "I don't believe her. I just want you to know that." I almost cried right there. Just from being believed. How rare that had become in this family. Then Mira asked the question I'd been asking myself for years. "Why does she hate you so much?" I stared at the dark street. The porch light from my parents' house cast long shadows across the lawn. "Because she needs me to be the problem," I said finally. "So she can keep being the pride." Mira was quiet. I got in my car, drove home, started thinking. The next morning I woke up to a screenshot from my aunt. She'd forwarded it without comment. Just a message from the family group chat. The one Delaney ran. Delaney had written, "If Sable ruins today, don't engage. She feeds off attention." I read it 3 times. Ruins today? It wasn't even a holiday anymore. It was just a regular Thursday. She was preemptively blaming me for things that hadn't happened. Painting me as unstable before I'd even walked through the door. I started typing a response, stopped, deleted it, then I screenshot the message. Saved it to a new folder. Named the folder Pride Problem. Not because I had a plan yet, but because I was exhausted from being told I imagined things. This was proof. Written, dated, documented. If Delaney wanted to brand me as irrational, I was going to collect every single brushstroke she used to do it. Every dismissal, every threat, every cheerful little cruelty. She got to write the story for years. Now I was going to start keeping receipts. 2 days later, my supervisor called me into her office. She sat carefully, professional but uncertain. "We received an anonymous email this morning," she said. "It raised some concerns about your emotional stability at work." My throat went completely dry. Volatile was Delaney's word. Her favorite one when she wanted people to picture me as a hazard, unpredictable, risky. I kept my voice steady. "That's not accurate." My supervisor nodded slowly, but I could see the doubt trying to find a foothold. After the meeting, I sat in my car on my lunch break, Hands shaking in my lap, my phone buzzed. A text from Delaney. Hope work is going well. That smiley face. I stared at it for a long time. She'd sent it 10 minutes after my meeting ended. She wasn't checking in, she was checking the wound she just made. I screenshot the text, added it to my folder, noted the time. Then I pulled out my performance reviews from my bag, started building a different kind of file. Facts, documentation, truth. I called Delaney that evening, kept my voice calm, measured, the way you speak when you want information, not a fight. Did you contact my workplace? She gasped, theatrical, hand over her heart probably. What? No, why would I do that? Because whoever sent the email used your exact phrasing. She laughed softly. Sable, you're being paranoid. Paranoid. Her other favorite word for me. I breathed in slow. Don't contact my workplace again. Her tone changed. Something cold came through. You don't get to talk to me like that. Watch me. I hung up before she could respond. Sat there for a moment with my heart hammering so loudly I could feel it in my ears. It was the first time I'd ever ended a call with her instead of letting her run out the clock, instead of staying on the line until she decided she was done. My hands were shaking, but I was still here, still standing, and for the first time, I'd been the one to end the conversation. That felt different. That night, I pulled a box from the back of my closet, one I hadn't touched in years. Old notebooks, therapy worksheets, emails from my college counselor, a resignation letter from the semester I'd almost quit everything, documentation of the year Delaney still used as my permanent label. But as I read through the pages, what I saw wasn't someone reckless or unstable. I saw someone who'd been drowning and had quietly learned to swim. Someone who'd fought hard without any applause. Then a specific memory surfaced. Sharp and sudden. Delaney calling me, panicked, asking me to cover for her with Dad about a work mistake that could have gotten her fired. I'd covered. I always covered. I'd been her shield. And while I was being her shield, everyone had watched me absorb the hits. Had seen the chaos around me and assumed I caused it. Being her backup story had trained the whole family to see me as the messy one. I sat with that realization for a long time. Then I opened my laptop, started searching. Mira called me the following week with that tone she used when she wasn't sure she should be talking. I don't know if I should tell you this. Tell me. She said she'd been at a coffee shop near Delaney's office. Had overheard Delaney arguing on the phone in a corner booth. She said, you can't take credit for that. It was my work. I sat up immediately. Who was she talking to? I couldn't hear the other person, but then she said something like, she owes me. I made her look better than she is. My skin went cold, because that was exactly how Delaney talked about me to the family. Like my accomplishments were things she'd arranged, like my life was a stage set she'd decorated. I thanked Mira, hung up, pulled up my old project folders, searched for Delaney's name in my email, scrolled back, further than I'd looked in years. I found the email thread buried under years of other conversations. Back when we were younger, before Delaney's so-called big career moment, she'd emailed me asking for my project outline. Just to compare approaches, she'd written. You're always so organized. I remembered hesitating, remembered feeling flattered that she'd asked, that she wanted to learn from me. So I'd sent it. Every attachment, every file. Now I opened those attachments and compared them to an old post she'd made online 2 days later, announcing her big idea, her breakthrough concept, the thing that launched her professional reputation. The structure matched mine. The framework was mine. Even some of the specific phrasing. My hands started shaking. I didn't know exactly what to call it yet, but I knew what it felt like the floor shifting under my feet, like years of being called the problem suddenly had a different explanation. I met my old internship mentor, Celeste, for coffee. She'd always believed in me more than my own family had. I kept it casual at first, mentioned Delaney's field, her firm. Celeste's expression shifted, subtle but clear. Your sister works at Aldrich Group? She does, since her big promotion a few years back. Celeste was quiet for a moment, choosing words carefully. There was something that happened around that time, she said. I can't say much, but a concept appeared internally that looked very familiar. Something the firm had seen before it officially arrived. I felt my pulse in my throat. Familiar, like borrowed? Celeste studied my face, patient, careful. Sable, Did you ever share your work with her? My mouth went dry. I nodded slowly. Celeste looked at me with something that was halfway between sympathy and confirmation. Some people, she said quietly, use family members as libraries, and they count on those family members never speaking up. I stared at my coffee cup, the problem label I'd been wearing for years. Had it been a smokescreen? I didn't confront Delaney. Not yet. Instead, I started gathering emails, date stamps, saved files, screenshots, pulled everything into a timeline so clear and organized that a complete stranger could read it without needing me to explain the emotion behind it. Just facts, dates, documentation. It was strangely calming, like organizing chaos into something manageable. Delaney continued texting me memes, sending just checking in messages. I replied politely, kept my tone warm and unremarkable. She relaxed, stopped watching me closely. People confess more when they think you're still playing your old role. But then my supervisor told me HR wanted a follow-up meeting, just to document, just routine. My stomach tightened. Delaney's anonymous email was working, creating doubt where my record was spotless. I realized something important. Having the truth wasn't enough on its own. Truth needed protection, organization, witnesses. I needed more than facts in a folder. I needed people who'd stand beside me when it mattered. Mom called with a casual invitation. Leftovers night? Just family. Nothing big. I arrived to find Delaney already there, perched on the kitchen counter like she lived there, like she'd never left. She smiled when she saw me. Hey, problem child. Mom laughed, nervous, automatic. I kept my face neutral, set my jacket down, started helping with plates. Delaney launched into a story about her latest project, her team, her ideas. Phrases I recognized drifted out of her mouth, language from my old outline, my specific framing, concepts I'd spent weeks developing years ago. My heart pounded, but I didn't react, just watched, listened, let her talk. Later, passing through the hallway, I stopped outside the kitchen when I heard Mom's voice drop. Just be patient with her, Mom whispered to Delaney. Sable will always need us. Need us. Like I was a permanent dependent, a project that would never be finished. I walked out with leftovers I didn't want and a plan I'd never thought I'd need. The HR meeting was polite and sterile. 2 representatives, matching expressions, careful language. We received concerns about your emotional stability, one said. I sat straight, voice calm, provided everything. 3 years of spotless performance reviews, written commendations from clients, a reference letter from my previous supervisor. Attendance records showing I was early more often than late. I watched their expressions change as they read. The story about me didn't match the facts at all. Afterward, my supervisor caught me in the hall. That felt personal, she said quietly. Not professional. I nodded. It is personal. In my car, I opened the Pride problem folder, added new entries, noted the date, noted that the concern had been anonymous. Then my phone buzzed. Delaney, just checking in. Love you. Love you. Sent 15 minutes after my meeting ended. I stared at those 2 words. Love used as a costume, worn when she needed cover. Warm fabric over cold intentions. I screenshot it, added it to the file. I met Rory for dinner. She was the most grounded person I knew, practical, unimpressed by performance. I laid everything out on the table. Printed emails, my timeline, the date comparisons. Rory looked through it slowly. Her eyebrows lifted, millimeter by millimeter. This is not nothing, she said finally. Am I reading too much into it? Rory set the papers down, looked directly at me. Sable, you're not imagining things. You've been trained to doubt yourself. That's different from being wrong. The words hit somewhere deep. If you're going to use any of this, Rory continued, you do it clean. No emotion. Facts only. You stay calm no matter what she does. I nodded, throat tight. And protect your job first, before anything else. That night I changed every password, locked down my social media accounts, stopped sharing details about my life with anyone in the family. If Delaney required access to me in order to control the story, I was going to cut her access off completely. She was about to realize she'd been feeding on something she no longer had. Delaney showed up at my apartment unannounced on a Wednesday evening. She was holding a pie. Peach, homemade looking, like it was meant to be an apology without requiring her to say sorry. I've been feeling like you're off, she said, stepping inside before I could decide whether to let her. She looked around my apartment slowly, taking inventory. Her eyes moved the way they always did, assessing. Cataloging. Still struggling? She asked softly. My stomach turned. I'm doing well, actually, she smiled. Good. You know people talk. I defend you. Defend you. Like I was a public hazard she managed out of the goodness of her heart. Then she lowered her voice. Just enough. If you ever think about making me look bad, I'll remind everyone exactly why you're the problem. She smiled while she said it, like she was reminding me of something gentle and obvious. I looked at her. She wasn't afraid of my anger. She was afraid of one thing only. My truth. I thanked her for the pie. She left looking satisfied. I wrote down every word she'd said. Added it to the file. At the family potluck 2 weeks later, Delaney arrived with an expensive dessert in a tiered box. Made a production of setting it on the table, describing the layers, the imported ingredients. Presentation matters, she said warmly. Then she cut a slice for me herself. Placed it on a plate with a smile that felt like a blade wearing a pretty handle. A little sweetness for you, she said, brightly. Everyone laughed. Mom beamed. I took the plate, hands completely steady, and something clicked in my mind, clear as a bell. That was exactly what Delaney did. Her whole life, she served people whatever made her look generous, whatever made her look better than what she was handing to them. That night, I called Rory. I know what I'm going to do, I told her. If she wants to label me at a table, I'm going to give her truth at a table. Rory was quiet for a moment. On a plate, she said. Yes, on a plate. The phrase landed in my chest like something that had always been waiting to arrive. Mira called again, whispering. I found something else. She sent a screenshot. Delaney in a private message thread with a friend. I had to clean up Sable's mess again. She exists to create problems, I swear. I read it twice, set my phone down, picked it back up. Not because it was new. I'd heard Delaney say similar things my whole life. But because it was written, documented, proof of how she sold my humiliation for social points. Then Mira sent a second screenshot. If Sable ever talks, Delaney had written, I'll bury her. My hands went cold. I saved everything to the folder, sat on my couch staring at the wall for a long time. This had never been just sibling rivalry. This was a power structure built on one requirement, that I stay quiet, stay small, stay labeled. And I'd held it up for years. Without even understanding that's what I was doing. That was done now. Celeste called unexpectedly on a Tuesday afternoon. There's a position opening at a partner organization, she said. Senior strategy role. I thought of you immediately. My throat tightened, hope and fear arriving together. Then Celeste added, the hiring process involves coordination with a few other firms, including Aldrich Group, Delaney's firm. My stomach flipped over. If Delaney found out I was interviewing there, she'd interfere. Frame it as concern. Use her professional connections to quietly kill my chances before I even had them. Please keep this between us, I told Celeste. For now. She understood without asking why. Just bring your best work, she said. That's all you'll need. I prepared for the interview like everything depended on it. Because it did. 3 days later, Mom texted me out of nowhere. Delaney mentioned you've been acting distant. Are you okay, sweetheart? Triangulation. Delaney had noticed the access drying up, was routing concern through Mom to draw me back. I didn't respond. I had an interview to prepare for. Mom's invitation arrived by text. Small redo Thanksgiving dinner. Just the close family. No drama. Please come. I stared at it. No drama meant controlled environment. Delaney's territory. Her stage. Her audience. Not going meant they'd call it proof of the problem narrative. I decided to go. But differently. I brought a dish. Something simple and homemade. Because I wanted to arrive with my hands occupied and steady. Rory helped me prepare an envelope. Printed documents. Timeline. Key evidence. You're not there to throw it at her, Rory said. You're there to read the room and choose your moment. I nodded. Because revenge wasn't rage, it was timing and patience. And arriving prepared while letting the other person believe they're running the show. The night of the dinner, I stood in front of my mirror for a long time. Said out loud, quietly, "You're not the problem." Meant it completely. Then I picked up my dish and my envelope and went. At the redo dinner, I excused myself to get something from my car halfway through. Walking back through the hallway, I heard voices from the study. Delaney and my mom. Door partially open. I stopped, breathing carefully. If she's interviewing at the partner org, Delaney said. Casual. Light. like she was discussing a grocery list. I'll send Celeste an email. I'll frame it as concern from someone who cares. Mom's voice murmuring, just don't make it obvious. Delaney laughed. Nobody questions me. I'm the pride. Then, and if she confronts me, we'll just remind everyone what happened during her bad year. I stood frozen in the hallway, heart slamming. They were planning to ruin my future like it was routine housekeeping. Like erasing me was just part of maintaining order. I backed away slowly, silently, walked back to the table, smiled at Delaney. She smiled back, had no idea I just heard the blueprint. The next morning, I called Celeste, kept it calm, professional. I want to give you a heads up, I said carefully. It's possible someone connected to the process may attempt to raise concerns about me. The concerns won't be accurate, and I can provide documentation if that happens. Celeste's voice went steady and firm. I appreciate you telling me, she said. I've encountered this before. Then I drafted a message to my workplace supervisor, documented the anonymous email concern, requested formally that any future external communications about my performance be processed through official HR channels only. She agreed within the hour. Clean, quiet, no drama, strategic. Meanwhile, Delaney sent me a text the following day. Proud of you for trying, Sable. I read it, screenshot it, added it to the Pride Problem folder. Still positioning herself above me with every single word. Not from confidence, from the need to control where I stood relative to her. I was almost ready. The charity Friendsgiving was coming in 2 weeks. Delaney loved that event more than almost anything, because it gave her a microphone. The charity Friendsgiving dinner was held at the community center. Donors, volunteers, family friends, neighbors, exactly the audience Delaney loved best. She'd insisted on speaking. Of course she had. Mom urged me to attend. It'll be good for you to be seen. Rory came with me. So did Mira, nervous but determined. I brought a dish, warm and homemade. Set it on the food table when I arrived, and slipped the sealed envelope into my bag. Delaney spotted me the moment I walked in. Look who came, she announced. Loud enough for heads to turn. She smiled. Gracious. Generous. Like my presence was something she was tolerating. Rory's hand briefly touched my arm. Facts, she whispered. Not feelings. I nodded. Kept my breathing even. Watched Delaney float through the room, shaking hands, laughing, collecting admiration like she'd been starving for it all week. The microphone sat at the front of the room. Delaney kept glancing at it. I kept the envelope in my bag and waited. Delaney took the microphone to warm applause. She thanked the organizers, praised the volunteers, said all the right things. Then she shifted the way she always did, from gratitude into legend. I've always been the responsible one in my family, she said, laughing lightly. You know, the pride. People chuckled. Comfortable. And my sister. She found me in the crowd, smiled directly at me. Well, she's always been the problem. The same words, the same smirk. Warm laughter moved through the room. I stood up. The laughter slowed. Heads turned. I walked calmly toward the front, carrying my dish in both hands like I was simply serving food. I stopped near the stage and said, quietly but clearly enough for the front rows to hear. Delaney, since we're sharing things tonight, I brought something you've been avoiding for a while. Her smile tightened. What are you doing? She kept the mic close. I held up my dish, set it on the table directly in front of her. Then I placed the sealed envelope on top of it. Like a course being served. The truth, I said simply, on a plate. Delaney tried to laugh it off immediately, waved her hand at the envelope. She's being dramatic, everyone. You know how she is. But Rory stepped forward. Calm, professional, unhurried. It's documentation, she said clearly. Worth reading before you continue. Mira added from the side, voice steady. I can confirm the contents personally. One of the charity board members, a woman named Aldine, looked at the envelope, then at me. Is this related to tonight's event? It's related to honesty, I said. Delaney had no choice. Everyone was watching. She opened the envelope with hands that were not quite steady. Inside, printed email threads. Delaney requesting my outline. My attachments included. Date stamps clear. Screenshots of her private messages calling me the problem. Selling my humiliation for social currency. A timeline connecting her breakthrough idea to my original files. Dates that made the sequence undeniable. Delaney's face drained of color from the top down. She tried to laugh again. This is insane. I kept my voice level. Then it should be easy to disprove. The room murmured. Someone near the back whispered, "Is that plagiarism?" Delaney's eyes found Mom. Desperate, begging. Mom stepped forward, started to say my name, and then Mira said, "She also tried to sabotage Sable's job. I heard the planning." Mom froze. The room stopped chuckling and started listening. After the event, everything moved quietly. One of the donors that night was connected to a senior partner at Aldrich Group. Delaney's public speech had put her directly under a spotlight she hadn't chosen or controlled. The firm opened an internal review. Mom called me twice, left voicemails about family loyalty and gratitude. But her voice didn't carry its old weight anymore. Too many people had seen too much for the narrative to hold its shape. Delaney texted me long messages, angry first, then full of denial, then one that read like it had been written by a PR team, soft, careful, almost an apology. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. A week later, Celeste called. I got the role, not because Delaney fell, because my work finally stood completely on its own, without her shadow spread across it. The following Thanksgiving, I didn't go to their table. I hosted my own, small, Rory, Mira, 3 friends who'd never needed me to be smaller so they could feel bigger. I cooked everything myself, set a table with no rankings, no toast, no labels, plated the food simply, quietly, and understood for the first time with complete clarity what had always been true. I was never the problem, I was the cover. And the moment I stopped covering, everything changed.